Budget implementation. Ministers of Budget and Finance appear before Senate Joint Committee.
House of Representatives to investigate new JAMB cutoff marks for admission.
Strategic consultations. President Buhari hosts 2 governors.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we'll focus on National Addressing System plus Governor Willie Obiano's scorecard.
Nigeria, just like other nations aspiring to develop, always come up with various strategies to achieve their desired results.
And one of such strategies, Blessing, is the National Addressing System policy designed to facilitate Nigeria's socio-economic development.
Now, this step we're talking about is considered by some key players as a giant leap towards in terms of unlocking actually additional economic potentials across multiple sectors of the economy.
Now, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, while inaugurating the National Addressing System Council in Abuja last week, said that the establishment of a national addressing system for Nigeria is long overdue, adding that a functional addressing system will provide a much-needed backbone of the rollout of new technology, including global positioning systems, GPS applications, and equipment.
Now, in addition to this national addressing system, this is expected to improve digital economy as well as other sectors of the nation's economy in one way or the other.
Yes, indeed, Blessing, because the national addressing system is actually a universally recognized system as a strategic infrastructure for nation building. In fact, it is seen as the key to development in modern day world.
You're quite right, Kirian. So why is it now that a nation is establishing such a national addressing system? How will this spoil that particular social economic development that the government is expecting it to do for Nigeria? And how will this reduce criminal activities in the nation? This is Good Morning Nigeria. The first one, no, the second one, oh no, did I say second? The third one for the week. I beg your pardon. It's the midweek edition. My name is Blessing Abu, and I welcome you to today's edition.
And I am Kirian Umayo, saying thanks to you for finding time to join us this morning live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the largest TV network in Africa.
Now, apart from the national addressing system, as part of our topic today, we'll also take a look at the scorecard for Governor Willie Obiano of Anambra State. Now, we flagged off its own re-election campaign 2 days ago, and we want to see what Anambrarians, as they are called, want to be doing, going to the polls.
Yes, the campaign is hotting up right now, and everybody is gearing towards that election. It's going to be very hot in that part of the country. Now, in the course of our program today, as usual, we'll take our complimentary segments, newspaper review, business, sports, foreign, entertainment, and even the weather outlook for the rest of the day.
It's been raining cats and dogs in the last two evenings or more.
The rain is is coming to an end gradually, and that's the steps it normally takes to end a rainy season. And now we have Joseph Johnson with the news this morning. Joseph?
Yeah, thanks, Kirian and Blessing. Hello, thanks for joining us on the news. The need for the executive and legislative arms of government to work together towards revamping the Nigerian economy through rejuvenation of the country's revenue generation base has been stressed. This is the consensus at the Senate Joint Committee meeting on Finance and Appropriation.
What we hope to achieve is successes and problems or obstacles. Senate's first resolution on this matter was for the 2 ministers to appear
at the Senate plenary. There was a lot of activity, a lot of releases from because our intention, and the intention was to reflate the economy.
The net oil receipts compared to this time last year, second quarter last year, if you compare the figures, we're up by 30.7%. So the second quarter actual for 2016 was 349.56, and this second quarter we're at 456.89.
Now, a plenary on the floor of the Senate commenced with the consideration of reports of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions. National Assembly correspondent Dennis Adegunloye reports on the seriousness with which the lawmakers take petitions of private members of society, as well as some motions moved, including that on the need to construct captive dams in all communities across the country.
From the service of the Commission on 18 December 2011 for an alleged misconduct of threatening the lives of 5 committee members considered by the resident electoral commissioner.
Less than 6 months after the petition came for us, he was recalled by May 2016. So really, let us commend the INEC for its timely compliance with the ruling of Natural Industrial Court, and also thank the committee for the work that you are doing to really give hope to Nigerians.
And the House of Representatives has mandated its Committee on Tertiary Education and Services to investigate the reduction in the cutoff marks for admission into tertiary institutions by the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board. This is equal to a motion moved by Representative Hassan Saleh.
For us to sit here and begin to see a policy that will further reduce the standard of education in our country, I think it will be a disservice.
And we are now taking 25 that is supposed to be F.
It's really reverberated beyond the borders of Nigeria.
The federal government is poised to pay the backlog of salaries owed teachers in the country. Minister of Education Adamu Adamu said this at the 2017 World Teachers' Day press briefing in Abuja, with the theme Empowering Nigerian Teachers for the 21st Century Challenges.
This administration to date, the federal government has given out largesse twice and directing states specifically to settle salaries that have been unpaid, including that of teachers.
Now, President Muhammadu Buhari yesterday granted audience to the governors of Anambra and Ondo states, as well as the Minister of Mines and Steel Development, in furtherance of his strategic consultations for sustainable peace, security and development of the country.
He likes governors who are hardworking, who are delivering on what people can see, who are bringing dividend of democracy to their people. That's what the president wants. He doesn't care your party.
If we need to have a deep sea mining port, Ondo State is well suited for it. So we just to that point with Mr. President to at least interest him in this, what we believe it will be a lasting legacy.
6,200 card readers will be deployed for 326 wards in 21 local government areas of Anambra State for the November governorship election. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu gave the breakdown at a meeting with the media.
We complete the election project plan, a number of activities will commence, one of which is the election budget. We're approaching 2018. How much will the 2019 elections cost this country? We're unable to give you a figure now because we want to make sure that we conclude the election project plan.
And finally, Comptroller General of Nigeria Customs Service Hamid Ali has given a 3-month ultimatum to the officers and men of the service to curb smuggling, especially that of rice. The customs boss gave the charge in Abuja at the decoration of Deputy and Assistant Comptrollers General who had been on acting capacity.
Nigerian Customs Service to ensure that in the next 3 months that we have reduced smuggling to the barest minimum. If that's our job to protect our agricultural policy, it is our job to make sure that our farmers benefit from the government policy.
And that's the news for now. Good morning. Nigeria returns shortly with Kirian and Blessing. Stay with us.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem promptly through revival of agriculture.
The 30K is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
London, New York or Lagos, business or holiday, home or office, you can now carry out your tax transactions from anywhere in the world. You can now file all your tax returns, pay online, get a receipt and even process your tax clearance certificate from anywhere in the world online and in real time. All you need to do is log on to www.firs.gov.ng and click on e-services and be introduced to the world of innovation, convenience and transparency from the FIRS. You can also pay stamp duty as you register a new company with the CAC or for other transactions that require stamp duty payment online. You can also file your withholding tax returns and determine the withholding tax deducted from you is in government coffers so that you can get your receipt within 45 days as long as the deduction has been remitted. Yes, all of this and more online at www.firs.gov.ng/e-services. FIRS, making tax administration as easy as ABC. Please note that all FIRS services are free of charge. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service. It pays to pay your tax.
We are quick to blame other people, the government, even animals and nature.
Government cannot be responsible for everything. Some of our problems is our own making.
Do you condemn other people for the vices you are guilty of? Do you have genuine papers for your daily dealings?
I have never seen a more useless, dysfunctional, impracticable driver's license. It's not even a passport-size photograph. It's a full size of a human being showing.
The list is endless. This episode is titled, What About You? Join us this week on your rib-cracking comedy, Professor Jambu, and find out what bothers Godons as you laugh like never before.
I supposed to get an award for coping with this kind of living thing. It's not even a living thing. It's a non-living thing.
Over and out.
Brought to you by Glow.
The largest data network. Glow Unlimited.
What makes a nation truly unstoppable? It's being able to push in the face of odds, rise above limitations, and realize that everyone's effort counts when it comes to nation building. What makes us unstoppable? It's when we work together as a team without letting our differences hold us back. There's no stopping the Nigerian dream. Reach for your peak, Nigeria. Happy Independence Day.
Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Sir Ahmadu Bello, Chief Obafemi Awolowo.
These patriots worked together to achieve independence for one united Nigeria. Although some may say Nigeria is a mistake, we all know that the Almighty never makes mistakes.
God has not made a mistake by bringing us all together in the way that He has brought us together. God has put us together here so that we can build a community that will be an example to the entire world.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Time now to take a look at the business report. Economic experts say with strategies employed by government to address pressing economic challenges, there is the hope for the country to blossom. Let Amina Najum tell us more on the business package.
Good morning and thanks for joining us on Business News. Still in the spirit of Nigeria marking independence, economic experts have continued to lend their voice on the country's journey so far as the economy is concerned. Issues of fighting corruption, which has been described as Nigeria's worst enemy, as well as ensuring the nation's security status, economic watchers say remains key to all-inclusive growth for Nigeria.
Let me say this, other countries are not waiting. So if we are not developed, it's just like a rail track. When you stop, people coming behind can knock you down. And that's exactly the issue. So I think the Nigerian economy should actually focus on ensuring that the macroeconomic policy of the country is the target.
Professor of Economy Jonathan Aremu says that while the country still faces challenges, the current administration is addressing key critical economic issues and that there's still hope for a full recovery. However, he stressed that there must be some kind of synergy between monetary and fiscal authorities. Meanwhile, trading on the equities on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange NSE closed Thursday on a positive note after 2 days of bearish trade, as market capitalization added 52 billion naira to close at 12,100 trillion naira. The Nigerian Capital Market OSHA Index witnessed fluctuating fortunes week ending Thursday, as Friday and Monday remained public holidays. And for Tuesday's closing numbers, here is a graphic summary. And that is business news for now on Good Morning Nigeria. The program continues shortly. I am Amina Nushain.
Thank you indeed, Amina, for that update on business environment. Newspaper review is next on Good Morning Nigeria.
Yes, join us as usual to take a look at the stories making front pages of the newspapers this morning. Bayo Atoyebi.
Good morning.
Good morning to see you. Good to see you.
Good morning, Bayo.
Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, carry on now for the Nigerian Tribune. Just as other papers, we have the face-off between Minister of State for Petroleum, Kachuku, as well as the GMD and NPC. Leading for the Nigerian Tribune, Kachuku, in explosive 8-page letter, reports NNPC GMD to Buhari. There is a writer to that story, wants president to save NNPC, the oil industry, from collapse. More details on page 4. And there you have on the front page there the letters, or a page letter as displayed there with a photograph of the two, both the minister and that of the NNPC GMD. Just beside that, you have other stories. Ex-IAR&T DG, 2 others, jailed 40 years over 177 million naira fraud. IAR&T stands for Institute of Agriculture, Research and Training. More details on page 31. Senate, federal governments disagree on 2017 budget releases. You find more details on page 10. Now, moving further down the paper, we have I wish to return to testify in 450 million naira money laundering case. This is credited to former Minister of Petroleum, Jezani Alison Madueke. You find more details of that story on page 31. Now, INEC is warning politicians against illegal campaigns, and they're set to release Osun Ekiti elections timetable tomorrow, and also promising to go ahead with Senator Dino Melaye's recall process. More details of that story, as well as other on the INEC, you find on page 36. 2.5 million children severely malnourished. This is worrisome, and this is coming from the federal government. More details of that on page 36 as well. And now the story, just before you come with that same story you have leading, is the same story leading for this day. In leaked letter, Kachiku accuses Barrow of $24 billion contract award without due process. Alleges campaign of calumny against him, insubordination by NNPC boss. He also wants the recent NNPC appointment suspended, but GMD keeps mum, and NLNG wins legal battle against the Massa agency to appeal ruling. That's it about the front page of this day. That's at least leading for this day. Okay.
All right. Also leading on today's blueprint is Kachuku NNPC GMD at war, as Blessing read in other papers there. It's actually one of the burning issues of the time. On this newspaper, that's a blueprint. The writer, Minister writes Buhari over illegalities. That's on page 6 of blueprint. Just above that very catchy headline, more Boko Haram members in Ondo, says a suspect. The story is also on page 6. And now below the photograph here, we have 2019, INEC reads Riot Act to fire share orders. That's on page 7. And then NBA wants looters special court strengthened. That's Nigerian Bar Association on page 13 of blueprint. Police expel 6 ASP in training. Page 16 has details of that story. Try me in Nigeria, design in place with AFCC. Page 7. And then Senate and federal government disagree over budget rollover plan to 2017. It's on page 41 of blueprint. And of course, lastly here, UOB approves recruitment of 102 firefighters. That's good news there on page 15. Bayo,
yes,
to come in here.
Well, the story that have dominated most of the papers is related to the leak letter meant for the president's attention from the Minister of State for Petroleum about the GMD of the NNPC. The NNPC is a parastatal of government. A parastatal of government is an institution of government set up to achieve certain social objectives without being encumbered by the bureaucracy of the civil service. And for it to work, it has a policy guide, which is the board. And I think in the case of the NNPC, I think the Minister of State is even the chairman of the board. So there are procedures for sorting out the differences. But when it has gone beyond the minister, I think he's now taking the case to the appointing authority. After all, it's the president who appointed the two persons. It's not proper to start discussing communication meant to be internal of a public institution.
But who is blamed for the leakage now?
Well, it was leaked. For us as journalists and information, we want information. How we get it, you don't ask us. We publish it because our job is surveillance of the environment to reflect whatever is happening there. But now you are now aware that this is what is happening, that things at the center is not holding as far as that institution is concerned. But I think the Commander-in-Chief will sort all these ones out. But the other concern that has dominated the other papers are the status of the budget. You will recall that the Senate, upon resuming, expressed concerns about the budget and its implementation. And therefore, they invited the Honorable Ministers for Budget and National Planning, Finance, and also the DG Budget Debt Management Office were also there to brief the joint committee of the House and Senate on appropriation. And the brief that the Minister for Budget and Planning gave was that the ministry intend to roll over the 2017 budget to 2018 fiscal year. In fact, his own proposal is to roll over 60% of it, because the implication is that the minister says revenue are better than what it was last year, but it is not sufficient to fund the budget. You will recall that the budget is about 2.1 trillion, and most of it is to be financed by deficit, which means the money is not there. You have to borrow that money to fund. And he says we cannot spend 2.1 trillion in 5 months. The budget was passed in June and is supposed to have a lifespan up to next June. So that is the complication. But the Minister of Finance also gave a brief. He said so far about 1.5 trillion have been expended by way of current expenditure, and it breaks down to statutory transfers, funds for pension, overhead, and service-wide vote. But however, he says the capital expenditure so far, 340.9 billion have been released. And for the 100 billion that was realized from the Sukuk, that will be released by the end of this week. So it will bring it to a total of 440.9. Don't forget the target is 2.3 trillion. So there is still room for gap. But the implication for that now is that our debt profile has increased.
Exactly.
Yes, there was a margin, according to the DG for Debt Management Office, Patience Onia. He says that the debt profile has exceeded the 28% bar. And he says that there is also planned to issue $2.5 billion Euro bond. The issue of the bond helps government to release, to get funds to fund the budget. What is the dilemma here? The National Assembly that is concerned about the budget not being implemented properly is supposed to approve the loans that is required to fund the budget. And that approval has not been done. So,
all right, Bayo, the other stories, I took on that aspect of the Nigerian Tribune. I wish to return to testify in the 450 million naira money laundering case designing. And it's also on the front page of This Day, just beside the photograph. Alison Madwike asked our court to compel AGF to extradite to Nigeria.
Well, there are two cases about corruption now. One is that the counsel to the SY former Minister of Petroleum was in court to say that, look, there is a case going on for which 2 persons are being charged for laundering 450 million naira, all right, for election purposes. And they allege that it was given to them by the SY minister, but she was not joined in court as a party. Okay. So the council now protested that his client wants to be brought to Nigeria so that she can defend herself. But it's a difficult...
Should there be any special process to bring her back? Can she return by herself on her own?
It's difficult because currently, if reports are anything to go by, she has a case of money laundering, which she is standing trial for in United Kingdom. Until that is disposed of, she cannot. The other one was the Institute for Agricultural Training Research.
Okay, we still have 2 papers here on review. The Nigerian pilot, for instance, let's quickly look at the Nigerian pilot now. Below the nameplate, Boko Haram, judge disqualifies self from trial. Page 2 has that story. And besides that, we have the Senate urges Fashola to remove bombs from routes, sets up committee on deplorable foreign missions. Page 6 has that story. Well, we have the set of Kachuku and the GMD of NNPC, illegalities and insubordination is also there. But what is more striking on the Nigerian pilot is the striking workers shut down Benue State. You can see that the photograph of workers of different labor unions in that state. And that will remind me of what Itainan said yesterday here on this program about how the governors are really performing their own duties. Now, as doctors back on warning strike. Okay, we have the designing story here. Then oil firm holds community issues, federal government 14-day ultimatum and all of that. Bayo, you have 1 or 2 more things to add up before we conclude because we have the leadership here. Go ahead.
Yes, well, quickly, let's talk about the issue before the National Assembly. The other one was about JAMB. The House of Reps Committee has asked JAMB to come and explain why they dropped the cutoff mark for university from 180 to 120, and that's of Polytechnic, and the other ones from 165 to 100. Because the argument is that there were 1,700,000 candidates, and 596,000 scored about 200 that cutoff mark. Yet they brought the mark down when the places for admission in the university are not up to the 596. So those are part of the challenges. The other one that is of concern is also the Super Eagles. They will be playing Zambia for a must-win to qualify for Russia 2018. However, FIFA has fined Nigerian Football Federation $31,000 for pitch invasion. Because we beat Cameroon silly 4-0, spectators were excited and they invaded the pitch. And that is a crime as far as FIFA is concerned. And therefore, we need to raise alarm and concern. Yes, we can enjoy the victory, but we should not exceed the bound of our spectators going into the field.
All right, Bayata, as much you can take again this morning. We'll certainly see you again tomorrow.
Tomorrow will be another day. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a break at this point. When we return, we'll kick off with the first part of our conversation in a moment.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
I was distressed to notice that some of the comments, especially in the social media, have crossed our national red lines by daring to question our collective existence as a nation. This is a step too far.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Marketing in broadcasting requires some degree of specialized knowledge and skills, and it is a recognition of this that NTA Television College JAS is organizing an intensive 4-week course on modern trends in broadcasting media marketing. The course is going to be a knowledge-sharing class with emphasis on how best to meet the expectations of customers while remaining profitable. All participants will be exposed to emerging trends in broadcasting media marketing, aimed at equipping participants with new and robust skills in challenges of modern competition in the broadcast media marketing in Nigeria. Date 9th October to 4th November 2017. Venue NTA Television College, Rayfield, Jos. Fee 100,000 naira per participant. Accommodation inclusive. For more enquiries, contact us on 0806 980 9807, 0703 660 7155, or email us at ntacollege@gmail.com. NTA Television College, training you to be the best you can be.
This is the game I've been waiting for, and I get a headache. But I remembered Mom's advice.
Son, don't let anything stop you, okay?
When headache strikes, I always trust Sudrex. Because Sudrex acts fast to relieve headaches. Sudrex, win your day.
Chief. Good morning, sir. You are here already?
No, now my spirit day, my body day for house. What kind of question is that? Were you not the one that fixed this meeting for 8 a.m.? You are now coming by 10 a.m. and start asking me jam questions.
But Chief, now, I'm sorry. Don't you also go late for meetings sometimes? You know now, African time.
No more African time. And no more pancaking of face during office hours. At the end of the day, we will lose valuable time. We will not make progress. If we want to move this nation forward, we must treat business as business and respect time. Change begins with me.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry. Can we go for the meeting now, Chief?
Later.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Another edition of TV Guide magazine is out with revealing accounts of trending stories. With the dwindling oil revenue, he says there is no reason to worry.
We strongly believe that culture is Nigerians' new oil, and we're going to show that by creating wealth, our art and culture will be a statement for all of us.
Our cover story is on Otumba Olusegun Runchewe, Director General, National Council for Arts and Culture. For upcoming TV presenters, Elegant Elizabeth Banu tells you what it takes. A peep into the activities of the Presidential Committee on the Northeast Initiative, a mandate being fulfilled. A trip to the Yankari Games Reserve and Safari in Bauchi State brings you closer to nature. And The Oshun Osogbo Festival, our culture, our pride. Professor Adiku, the Vice Chancellor, University of Abuja, tells us what it means to manage a university, plus our regular features, star profile, media issues, relationships, young minds, entertainment, sports, and lots more. Pick your copy now at the vendors or at every NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, still your indispensable companion.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Thank you for staying with us. Now, to kickstart our conversation, taking a look at the national addressing system, we'll now join Timothy Yusuf for this background report.
It is a tradition of nations aspiring to develop to come up with various policies that will facilitate such desired growth. Nigeria is not an exception. To this end, the present administration in the last 2 years has come up with a number of initiatives to fast-track socio-economic development of the nation, in addition to ensuring security of lives and property of Nigerians. As a way to further diversify the economy, in line with the vision of the Buhari administration, the federal government initiated the National Addressing System. The initiative is universally recognized as a strategic infrastructure for nation building. The system is to, among other things, ensure efficient mail delivery, to the facilitation of e-commerce, disaster management and national policy. Observers say the policy shows the commitment of the present administration to putting in place an enabling environment for business in Nigeria and enabling the digital economy as well as achieving sustainable and diversified economic growth. They are of the view that a functional addressing system would provide a much-needed backbone of the rollout of new technology, including global positioning systems, GPS, applications and equipment. Inaugurating the 18-member National Addressing System Council, Vice President Yemi Oshibajo, who chairs the council, says the establishment of the National Addressing System for Nigeria is long overdue. And for that reason, therefore, the inauguration of the council should be seen not as an end, but a beginning, a start of a journey that should have begun long ago. He assured Nigerians that a national addressing system would improve the digital economy and other sectors. He mandated them to make guidelines and provide strategic direction for the national addressing system and to ensure that the policy is revised as at when due to align with the new technologies, policy objectives and socio-economic realities.
Thank you, Timothy Yusuf. And joining us to discuss the National Addressing System is the Honorable Minister of Communications, Adebayo Shitu. So good morning and welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
It is my pleasure to be here.
All right. And we also have in the studio this morning Dr. Julius Bolade Aljonri. He is the Secretary of the National Addressing System Council. Thank you for being part of our show this morning.
Good morning. I'm very happy to be here.
All right, joining the minister as well as Dr. Julius Anjorin, we have Malam Mahmoud Nakuru Shuaib. He is the National Addressing Secretary at NIPOS. You're welcome, Malam Nakuru. Okay, Honorable Minister, for the sake of our viewers, let's put it in perspective. Yes, the background I did a little bit, but let's put it down. What is this policy about national addressing system the government is?
Well, we will define the national addressing policy and the standards from the perspective of the past. In the past, as well as even now, we know that addressing has been an issue for the local governments. You know, having, housing, numbering, having street naming, and consequently, address of houses. But we do also know that over, throughout the country, from one local government to the other, there has not been a coherent system of house numbering and, street naming. More often than not, you have a house number 2, at a spot, and the next number is perhaps number 40-something, and you keep wondering why the incoherence and the distortions. Again, you find out that the biggest problem now arises for postmen when they have to deliver, a mail addressed to a specific, house number. it becomes difficult because they find it confusing. More often than not, you would discover, that several meters away, before you get the next number. Again, for even INEC, for NIMSI, for, the police, and for even the fire department, if there's a crisis, for instance, a fire, is occurring somewhere, and a call is put to the fire department that there's a fire incident at house number so. The fire department rushes and starts, scampering all over the place to identify where exactly, they have to go. So the federal government therefore decided to intervene to say, look, as a nation, we must have something that would be uniform, would be standardized, and would be of benefit to all Nigerians, and particularly to people who would require to get, people in specific addresses, for whatever purpose. That's why the federal government decided that there must be a uniform arrangement by way of the methodology, by way of the procedure, by way of, the standards, which would now be applicable to all the states and to all the local governments. Once you have a standard method, it becomes very easy. Everybody follows, suit. And that is why we now have, the national addressing system and guidelines to ensure that Nigeria, becomes in conformity with standards at the international level.
Okay,
so that's exactly.
When we're struggling to say, okay, we're now trying to have a uniform addressing system. This is one area that we know for so many of the challenges of actually even having town planning, master plan in order. So which ministries are you going to be working with, and state government? Like you said, you've already pointed out state government, issue of local government. How is this going to rub off on all the different organs of government?
It is the Ministry of Communications through NIPOS that is really the vanguard in ensuring a restructuring of national addressing system. Of course, along the line, we have also gotten the National Council of States to key into it. Since the policy has been, formulated, the council, which will drive the whole process, also have as its members, representatives of governors from each of the 6 zones. So these would percolate down, through the representative of these, governors from the 6 zones to all the governors in the state. In fact, the document, the standards, when the council was inaugurated last week, we could not adopt because governors felt that they needed more time to study this document, make inputs to it before it is adopted by Nigeria and for enforcement throughout Nigeria.
All right, Minister, thank you very much. Let's turn to Dr. Ajori, who is the Secretary of this Addressing System Council. Well, from what the Minister has posited, it is quite certain that it's a bit complex because it's going to involve the federal, state, and even local government. Now, lead Nigerians into understanding the complexity of it all and how the Secretariat, intends to handle those complexities and ensure that the aim and objective of this policy is at the end, achieved.
Thank you very much. Under the national addressing system, there is what is called the institutional arrangement that involves the federal, the state, and the local government. According to the policy, the institutional arrangement shows that the National Addressing Council is at the apex of addressing in Nigeria, and we are happy that His Excellency, the Vice President of the country, is the chairman of the National Addressing Council. And whatever has to do with the policy decision in the addressing system is carried from the National Addressing Council down to the state addressing committees and to the local government addressing committee. By that, we have a coordination from the federal level, and like my Honorable Minister said, the addressing system in Nigeria is devolved to the local government by the Constitution. Schedule 4 Section 7G of the Nigerian Constitution states that the local government shall be responsible for naming of streets and addressing of property. And over the years, we have discovered that local governments are doing what they deem fit without a global standard in compliance with what happens all over the world.
Since this falls under the purview of local government, what is the role of the federal government in it all? What is the role?
The intervention of the federal government has become necessary to bring about a coordinated addressing system in Nigeria. The federal government is not going to take the role of the local government, but at the same time, there is a need for the federal government to intervene to ensure that there is coordination, there is consistency in addressing in Nigeria.
Okay, I'll stay with you before we bring in NIPOS. Now, the Honorable Minister earlier said the state governments have already pointed out the issue of trying to look into it again before they now adopt what is that. We know most initiatives at the federal level, of course, very lofty ideas and all of the face challenges of implementation, mainly at the state and local government. Now, what are the roles that you're expecting that this subnational government, both states, local government, will be playing in achieving that which the federal government has set out to do?
Okay. As spelled out by the National Addressing Policy, the different roles have been delineated, and after the inauguration of the National Addressing Council, and by the grace of God and through the effort of our Honorable Minister and the Postmaster General, when the National Addressing Standard and Guidelines have been adopted, it will now be a working tool for the states and the local government to implement. Merely the documents are adopted. What will now happen is that the different, first, the National Addressing Committee, and I'm happy to say that my Honorable Minister is the one heading the National Addressing Committee here, and he's here. Now, the National Addressing Committee will now constitute a kind of a group that will oversee what happens all over the country, wherein the State Addressing Committee and the Local Government Addressing Committee will work in harmony with the National Addressing Committee.
All right. The next guest, to actually talk to us is Mahmoud. And Mahmoud, you are the national, you are the secretariat. You work at the Secretariat of National Addressing System, NIPOS.
Yes.
And we believe that you are directly involved in all of this because you are the people in the field, and you know what the problem is like. We want you to paint a scenario for the benefit of Nigerians and our viewers, what the problem really is. You have traversed across this nation one way or another, or your operational crew. So what is the problem on ground? And if there is one, do you think that what the present administration is positing will ameliorate the deplorable, whatever deplorable condition that you may have come across in the course of doing your job?
Now, maybe you should tell us more what as the key driver is going to do with this initiative. NIPOS should let us.
Yes, thank you very much. In a nutshell, there is what is called National Addressing System, and there is what is called National Addressing Standards. The National Addressing System is the combination of geospatial attributes, that is house numbering, street naming, and the postcode, to form part of what will be a form of a database. Then the addressing standards is a combination, is a standardization of the system. That is what is lacking in Nigeria. Many states like Lagos will name streets, number properties, but yet it is not okay because it's not up to the standard. Now, as the minister said, the inauguration of the National Addressing Council will form a bedrock for standardization of all these address-related attributes. Street naming, house numbering, which before each state will start numbering its properties. In Abuja, there are street numbers, there are street names, but yet they are not standard. Because if you did not combine all these attributes to form a standard, that will not form a national addressing standard.
All right, now let's dig further.
Yeah.
I know for many, it's these days of emails, digital communications, and more. So somebody might be wondering, what next, NIPOS? And there were some jokes around that if you're trying to seek a particular address in Nigeria, they'll tell you, okay, once you get to the landmark of building, cross over one gutter, you see one religious body. I don't want to mention anyone particularly now. Then you see one dustbin that is just jump them. Give me a call from there.
Yes.
What exactly will you be seeking as NIPOS to actually do in crossing some of these hurdles?
Yes.
People no longer receive letters. I'm sure for those who still even maintain their PMBs and all of the private mail bags. How is NIPOS going to cross this hurdle?
Yes. Thank you very much. NIPOS is going to gain more from this national addressing standard because this is the area of e-commerce. People buy things from abroad, buy small parcels, small packets that are coming from abroad. So we need addresses to deliver such items. Without addressing, without proper addressing, all these items could not be delivered. What I'm saying is that Nigeria is losing. We need revenue. Nigeria needs revenue. Need money to run. We need to move from our mono economy to diversify to other sectors, which NIPOS, by God's grace, if the national addressing standards is implemented by the states, by the local government, which we have committees, we are going to gain more. NIPOS is not losing because now it's digital economy. All over the world, everybody is embracing IT. And part of the national addressing system, without implementing the national addressing system, the IT, you cannot locate anybody. So if you send a parcel, even to identify a particular building will become very difficult.
So is NIPOS properly positioned to do this requisite training, manpower, what have you?
Yes.
Already?
Yes, NIPOS has been positioned because with the introduction of the Nigerian postcode system, the Nigerian postcode is one of the attributes of the national addressing system, which will form the standardization of those items. So, by and large, by the time parcels are coming, more parcels are coming, that is more revenue for NIPOS, then the federal government will depend more on other sectors of the economy, not particularly to do with oil.
On this issue of letters not being received,
yes.
I know that there are old cities in this country,
yes.
Enugu, Ibadan, Kaduna, Kano, and the rest of them,
yes.
you know, where numbering was perfectly handled,
yes.
right? So people no longer receive letters, as Blessing raised. Is this because of bad addressing system or something, or is it because the NIPOS is not? Yes, or it's not in the position because of the internet platforms that people are now using.
Yes. To add to that, that is why we said there is need for actualization of the national addressing standard. Yes, we have old cities like Kano, Enugu, street numbers are there, houses are numbered, but they are not to standard.
Okay, so sorry, Blessing. You see, sir.
Yes.
There is every reason for us to, for the nation to embark on this policy. There's every reason for that. But we also know that some of those OCTs we mentioned here, they are properly numbered. Some even before the Civil War, and they still maintain the numbering and they're accurate, especially in cities where there's proper planning. You know, you can see streets at a stretch. You can see streets, you can identify houses and what have you. Now, you say that this identity system is key to national development, and how will this spur up, national growth from your own point of view?
Well, I'm happy that my colleague, the last speaker, reminded us of the introduction of the new phenomenon of e-commerce. Even though with the button of GSM, it appeared that it was no more necessary to really have or expect that letters will still be in the quantum that they used to be. Because what you would need to, the time you need to send a letter from one location to its destination, takes a week or two or so. Now you can use email, you can use SMS, you can use WhatsApp and all of that. Despite that, if you look at even the developed countries now, post offices are regaining their centrality of importance in the communities, in the communal affairs. Like palaces, which usually are at the center of each town, each community, post offices are also regaining, a lot of importance. Particularly when this administration came on board, of course, we found that the post office was in a state of comatose, because people were not patrolling it. But we thought it was necessary for us to think out of the box to bring about reform to even the post office system. And part of the reform we are looking at is to create, in fact, 5 new services by way of reform. We are now bringing in, post banks. It will be a new introduction.
What's that about?
It is to ensure that, let me start from the background of, in this country you have 774 local government areas. In less than half of these local governments would you find banks, commercial banks. Which means, and you know also that majority of Nigerians live in the rural areas where there are no commercial banks. That means majority of Nigerians are completely cut off from financial inclusiveness. They don't have banks to save their money. They don't have banks to undertake financial services. They cannot transfer money. They cannot take even credit. So we are thinking that since, contrarily, post offices exist in 1,500 locations across Nigeria, we could as well bring in some form of community banking through the postal, system, so that everybody in every part of this country will have some form of banking services or the other, which will suit their conditions.
Okay, Honorable Minister, let's take a look at amongst other reforms that you're taking to tinker with NIPOS. Now, security is key. Even for now, we know the issue of insecurity here and there. How will this planning, this national addressing system, aid in issue of security?
Okay, I'm happy you are raising this issue. If, for instance, God forbid, there's an armed robbery attack somewhere, and you need to call the police, for instance. Of course, if you say, I am under, attack, I live in number 15 Anjoni Street, with a proper addressing system in consonance with international standard, it will not take more than a few minutes for the police to get right, at your location. But if the situation is as it is, the police may not even care, because if they make a little effort, they don't find that address. Perhaps you say you live in number 14, they get to number 13. They identify number 13, and they can't find number 14. They simply go back, and the attack against you will be sustained. So that's a very key example. The issue of security is very key. That example of a possible armed robbery attack is one. Another possible example is the issue of a fire outbreak, or myriads of, or even domestic violence. When this is happening and somebody needs to be rescued immediately. You need, a uniform, addressing system which will make all the security agencies to be able to locate the locations where, which requires immediate, attention, for purpose of rescue and all of that. Now again, we have INEC. INEC necessarily also registers human beings. They register persons for purpose of, giving them, electoral, identification and all of that. Where they live is also very key. If we say that, electorate Adebayo Shitu, you must be able to identify him. If he presents a card in a location, just like you have GSM numbers now. GSM numbers are a means of identification because everybody has something which is unique to him. In the same vein, you should also have your house address, which is, locatable, if I may use, the word. So all of these are part of what really identifies citizens, in consonance with international standards. So these are very key issues.
All right, let's get back to Dr. Anjorin. Yeah. Now, for the implementation of this, how would it begin to unfold? One, with the people Are they receiving it? Is it resonating with the people in its implementation? What are the people expected to do in pushing along this lofty idea?
Thank you very much. At the stage of implementation, the Ministry of Communication will spearhead the activities of the different levels. First and foremost, the committee will meet in liaison with the state committees and the local government committees to ensure that there's harmony in the activities. Also, there are stakeholders. All the stakeholders will be carried along. The ministries, the Office of the Surveyor General, the Ministry of Interior, Power and Housing, and all organizations that are involved in the use of and collection of addressing data. The stakeholders that will be involved will look at the addressing from different perspectives, and the Ministry of Communication, together with NIPOST, will coordinate. But if I may digress a little, there is what is called address verification and authentication. And I'm happy to state that the Postmaster General, Barrister B.C. Adeguyi, is very much interested in address verification and authentication, wherein organizations like banks, that sometimes people open accounts, they cannot get the address of the person opening the account. So when the committee and the different groups have been coordinated, now it will be easy to carry out a kind of synergy wherein all the stakeholders, the people that will go out to verify addresses or authenticate addresses, will have a rallying point in the committee. And it will also help, it will also bring about a ripple effect to the state, to the local government, wherein there is a central body that is responsible for.
Okay, Dr. Ajuri, you know, we are talking about implementation here, which of course you have addressed, because Nigeria has had lofty policies and ideas well articulated on paper, but when it comes to implementation, it becomes difficult. But why I mentioned earlier that this could be complex is because you said it falls under the purview of local government. But what we're trying to do is coordination. Now, talking about the kind of buildings Nigerians have, especially in the newly springing up cities across the country, people build on their lands, you know, scattered places, you know, but there's no proper town planning in majority of the cities across the country. And again, we have the shanty areas, you know, the suburbans, you know, that are poorly planned, or the slums, if you like. All right. So would they be captured in this?
Yeah, I'm happy to say also that my minister is a barrister, but he is IT GPS compliant. And I'm also happy to say that the Postmaster General is an IT man. He is also a barrister. I am not a barrister, but we are following them. Now, looking at the collection and utilization of addressing data, the national addressing system is going to come out in such a way that whether it is urban, whether it is rural, no matter the location, we are going to collect the data.
My village, my village.
Exactly. We are going to, in fact, the national addressing system
is a village setting. It's a village setting.
The national addressing system is going to ensure that no matter where you are, because, for example, the Universal Postal Union is the umbrella body of all postal services worldwide.
Okay, let's find out more from the Minister, Dr. Anjorin. Now, this might sound very funny, but it's one of the media you get to receive from time to time. Now, so this GPS vehicle was actually trying to locate a particular address, and it kept moving, and it was a bus. At a point, the leading was into a particular corner, and behold, it was now shrunk between two mud slums where we are building, and that is, of course, the GPS still leading. So, should we have such scenario in our hands? How is the Minister of Communication set to actually harmonize area of this GPS as well as other means of communication in
I am
region?
happy that we have in Abuja a success story about house numbering and you know, all of that, you know, because
not all over Abuja. Because I still have another person who was trying to locate a particular address. The GPS led the person to that point, then it goes off. Then he will go back to another point, it picks the signal again.
GPS is a technology which relies on so many other factors.
Okay, so are we going to
There
address
may
that?
have been defects and all of that. What is important is that this council and this policy anticipates, you know, technologies and technology to be utilized for effective, you know, implementation. Of course, like Dr. Anjoni has earlier said, you know, the town planning experts will be there, the sociologists will be there, the lawyers will be there, the police will be involved, you know, the federal road safety people will be there and all of that. And then they will advise on the technical side of ensuring effective and efficient and result-oriented implementation. I think that this is one good thing that Nigeria is keen into. I mean, it happens everywhere.
So before I ask you the role of NIGECOMSAT in all of this, you are from Ibadan.
Yes.
And Ibadan is the largest city in West Africa.
Yes.
And most unplanned, you know, as you know.
You see,
so how...
You see, the good thing is...
So it won't just be an Abuja thing. That's why we push that.
It will be a Nigeria thing. The good thing is, when policies evolve and they are positive and they have the potential of improving human lives, improving human living, improving, you know, urban settlements, whether urban or others, we should, you know, we should put, you know, positivity in our thinking and try to, you know, conquer, to see and to conquer. We are determined, this government is determined to make a success of every good initiative, whether it originates from Nigeria or it comes from the, you know, outside. He mentioned, Dr. Anjori mentioned that this is a policy that was original at the universal level, originally evolved, you know, or formulated by the Universal Postal Union. And Nigeria being one of the 193 members of this union, we are duty bound to also ensure implementation to the best of our ability. And we have the political will. We are also confident that we have all the experts who will make it happen, even in your village.
Okay, so the GPS is very essential.
Yes.
And it is satellite driven. It's totally satellite driven, and nothing you can do about that. And we have a communication satellite which has the capacity. And this satellite is underutilized, we all agree. And the reason he gave us some time on this program is because it's just one satellite. It doesn't have a backup. But in 1970, when China launched its first communication satellite, it was only one satellite. And now they have over 100 satellites because they entered into satellite business. So what we're saying is that a man does not discard his first car because he doesn't have a second car.
No,
now, we have a business environment where we have GSM operators thriving in this country. And, you know, joining Intelsat, Nilesat, and every other satellite available, you know, globally, saying that Nigeria, now our own satellite has 15 years lifespan. It has spent only 7 years, has 8 years to go. Shouldn't there be a policy? Because it will also, you know, enhance what we're trying to do with GPS here in this addressing system connection. So why can't something policy-wise happen so that Nigerians will be compelled, operators will be compelled, so that we can have money for launching another satellite?
Well, you would bear me witness that we have been making efforts in this direction. The business environment in Nigeria is a liberal, democratic business environment. At this stage, we feel that it is not yet safe for us to use, you know, legality to enforce patronage of what we do have. Remember that this is also about commercialization. I mean, NICOMSAT, you know, is a commercial entity, even if owned by the federal government. We also have a history that the first satellite that Nigeria had actually crashed. NICOMSAT 1, R1 actually...
It had battery issues.
It crashed. Whether it was battery issue or of whatever, it crashed. So if we have a replacement of that, we cannot guarantee that that too, for one reason or the other, may not crash. So for us, in good conscience, to say Nigerian agencies, ministries, departments and agents and all of that, you must patronize this. We must be able to guarantee that will have enough backup
that will,
such that if one crashes,
the other one will
customers' data would not have been totally lost. And that is why we are making an effort to be able to acquire 2 more satellites, by which time we can, through legislation, now say no Nigerian entity should patronize, foreign satellite company, so that we can preserve Nigeria.
I hope you have another platform for this, because China did something, America did something, and today they are big satellite
at the time
owners.
they did it, so people did not really have alternatives, perhaps. And remember that China didn't have this, Libertarian.
Anyway, Honorable Minister, Kirian will be engaging you on another time over issue of the satellite. Now, quickly, Malam Shaib, now, NIPOS is set to do this, so much hurdles to cross. Is this hoping will revitalize what NIPOS is going presently, or has not been able to do?
Yes, with the introduction, the full implementation of national addressing standard and the use of the postcodes, NIPOS is going to gain more in terms of mail. The physical mail, the physical letters we know is decreasing, but the parcels, people are purchasing things from outside, is increasing. Yeah. Now, if you post a letter, the minimum postage rate now is 50 naira. If you buy a parcel from abroad, it will come to us. We will gain 1,000 naira, 2,000, 3,000. What are we gaining?
More money for
more money.
Okay, Nigeria. All right. Thank you very much, Madam Tribal. Honorable Minister, Dr. Julius Anjorin. We have Nigerians reacting already, so we'll just quickly run through them and we'll end this conversation. Abdul Karim Duro, it's a very good move and long overdue. This should have been initiated by Internal Affairs Ministry because it's crucial to national security. And from Victor Hiosumwa, he says the NASP is a good policy, but how will it be implemented? Will it not be in conflict with the constitutional functions of the local government? And from Sani Michael Omakoji is a street, one can only give out what he or she has, therefore, quacks should not be brought on board to implement this policy. Now, from Sani Omokaji, for this policy to work, the developers or the thinkers of this policy should not be sidelined at the stage of implementation. Hassan Labaran says whatever system federal government is going to introduce, it should be something Nigerians and Nigeria can feel the positive results almost immediately. Now, Delajak Solomon says accurate infrastructure and street addressing will generate vital data on individuals and boost national planning and economic development in Nigeria. Festus Akimboyewa says this government appears to know what can move Nigeria forward. National addressing system is a product of strategic thinking, and if implemented faithfully, it will enhance the quality of services provided by government and private organizations. Seidu says, I also hope that the policy is revised as at when due to align with the new technologies, policy objectives, and socio-economic realities. Clifford Agressi says, kudos to Senator Gilbert Naji for coming up with a NIPOS reform bill that is currently being debated. And he also says, my thinking is that this discourse helps the overall effort in revitalizing NIPOS. Chizo Nathan, let us develop our network system first before talking about national addressing system. Banks go on standstill for hours when network fails. Honorable Minister, you might wish to react quickly. That was all about revising the policy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that is why we have a council which would constantly, as the need arises, continue to revive. It's not a static thing. It will be a dynamic process because we need technology. In fact, what we are trying to do, I must say this even with some regret, that what we're trying to do now is even being overtaken by new technologies in other parts of the world. But at least we must start from somewhere. We appreciate that we have lagged behind in several areas of our national development. But what is important is taking the first step now. New developments, new technologies, innovations will catch up, and we will keep it.
We have to stop you here. But I hope to engage you one more time on the issue of satellite. Thank you very much indeed, Honorable Minister of Communications, Adebayo Shiti, for being on this show this morning. And also have Dr. Julius Bolade Aljori, Secretary of the National Addressing System Council. Thank you, sir, for your insight. And again, Mahmoud Naruku Shoaib, National Addressing Secretary at NIPOS, assuring Nigerian that NIPOS will
bounce back again. Thank you for coming on the program. And this is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll move to the second leg of our conversation on Good Morning Nigeria.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
It's about that time. States across the country coming together for one purpose, one goal. They are young. They are solution providers. The NTA ETV Children's Expo 2017, holding at the NTA Arena, Area 11, Garki, Abuja, with the theme Renewable Energy, Industrialization, Arts and Agriculture as tools to bring Nigeria out of economic recession, with sub-themes post-harvest processing and preservation, and using arts and crafts to promote tourism. Date 22nd to 27th October 2017. This expo is open to ages 6 to 12 years for junior category and 13 to 18 years for the senior category. It's about the Art, Science and Technology Expo. For sponsorship consideration, please call the following numbers.
Thank you for staying with us up to this moment on the show. Anambra State is set to go to the polls next month for the governorship election. And ahead of the election, we will take a look at the scorecard of the present governor of the state, Governor Willie Obiano. And joining us to discuss the scorecard of Governor Willie Obiano is Dan Ulasi, former Anambra State Chairman of NRC, the National Republican Convention of those early 90s, and of course the PDP. So he's been a man around, the political terrain in the southeast of Nigeria. So thank you for joining us on the program this morning.
And good morning.
Yeah, blessing.
Okay, Mr. Daniel, okay, Chief. Incidentally, I have another chief here, so I'm.
It's a small one.
It's a small one. Yes. Okay, hi, Chief. All right, as a politician of note in Anambra State and also on the Nigerian, so serious stakeholder who is also been around, how would you rate Governor Willie Obiano's 3.5 years of performance in Anambra State?
In a simple word, just a sentence: first class.
First class
performance.
What defines first class?
What defines first class in terms of Anambra State? Before he came, the 8 years preceding his coming in, Anambra State was defined was in the news for the very wrong reasons: kidnapping, armed robbery, that. All the top shots in Anambra never came home without 10, 20 mobile police. Later, they started using the military to come home because of insecurity. This young man came and brought security. People can now sleep with their 2 eyes closed. The primary purpose of government is to give security to life and property. That was the first thing he did. And to us, it's first class.
That's
nothing can compare to that. If you're alive, then you can start talking of infrastructure. The dead cannot talk of infrastructure. Because a lot of people were killed in the southeast.
Now, is the governor of the state going to ride on his successes, in security for this to win back his seat? Now, let's talk about other areas of development.
Well, she just asked a question which I just made a simple answer. Because based on that security, so many other things have happened in Anambra State.
To open up.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
3.5 years of
because having given security a first touch, because his vision and mission statement to Anambra State is to make Anambra a first choice for investment destination.
How has he been able to do that? How has he been able to marshal that?
What can I tell you? If you come into Anambra, if you knew Oka before he came in, it was a glorified local government. Today, pass through Oka, you think you're passing through Third Mainland Bridge in Lagos because you see flyovers with street lights all through, and you feel so proud that this is a state capital, a capital of one of the most successful states in this country.
So is most of the developments in terms of infrastructure now, are they concentrated just in the state capital? Is the whole state not supposed to be part of?
I have just emphasized on security, which is the most important to us. Now, not just that he has helped to make Oka have a new look. He has built the longest bridge in the whole of Southeast, across the Anambra River, leading to where the new oil fields of Anambra State have been found. If you go there, you won't believe that this was done under 3 years. His agricultural sector, I mean, I doubt if any state can contest that in this country.
Let's share in what has done in agriculture. Yes. Let's share specifically, because I know that some parts of Anambra State are very, very good area community, like Anam area, you know. And what has he done in that?
By the time he came, let me use Costaris for example. Costaris has had a large expanse of land for over 27 years, and it laid dormant because nobody really had any instigation to push him forward. But this governor came and made sure that an investment of more than $1.2 billion was put in there. If you go to the area, thank God that at least you have an idea of Anam, in Anambra East and West local government, Ayamelum, and where the surrounding local governments have very fertile land. So the amount of work that is going on, giving more than 2,000 direct employment and hundreds of thousands of unofficial employment in the agricultural sector. We have a lot of farmlands now. In Ofuma, for instance, there's a new farmland, mechanized farm, rice mill too, that is employing more than 2,000–3,000 people.
Where is this located?
It's at Ofuma, Orumba South local government.
Okay.
Yes. So in terms of agriculture, which was the pivot of his, swearing-in speech, he has achieved it more than 100%. Overall, more than 12 billion has been attracted in terms of investment in agriculture, in oil and gas, in industries. A lot more industries have been built in my town in Nnewi. Incidentally, people don't know that Nnewi has the largest number of industries compared with any other town in this country. And since he came, more than 50 more industries have been added in that place. So it's a lot of achievement.
Okay,
actually, Blessing, I know the area he's talking about properly. You know, that's the Nnewi area, the industrial, what do you call it, industrial base of Anambra State, for instance. Now, what has he done, you know, to also
access road?
Okay.
Access road. Now the government is running 132, this line, what do you call it, NEPA line, across from somewhere straight down to Nnewi to help the industrial centers there. That's a very big achievement. Very, very big achievement. So, apart from this industrial output, which he's doing, think of the structure of the civil service, which is fundamentally so important. More than 60% of states in this country are not paying salaries. Not only is he paying at the 25th of every month, during the recession period, he increased salaries of workers. The only governor in this country, not just that he's paying salaries, he also increased salaries of workers. These are, since they are verifiable.
When you pay worker salary, they've worked. That's,
but it's no more commonplace in Nigeria. No worker is...
Anyway, let's take a look at other area that he has done very well. Universal Health Insurance Scheme in the state is one area that Anambra State is doing very well too. Now, how has this impacted on health care delivery in the state?
You know, we have lots of health institutions in Anambra. So the impact might not be immediately recognizable, because in Anambra there are more than 200 private hospitals. Individuals take care of their health needs. But since he came, he has tried to take into account the downtrodden, people who might not be able to get to private hospitals. This is why the insurance scheme which he introduced is so very important. And people recognize that, and they applaud it. Because only on Monday, he launched his second term campaign. A crowd that has never been seen anywhere in the Southeast. And I dare say that I've been long enough, and I've headed 2 national parties in that state to be able to say that this crowd is so natural that if he gets 60% of the votes in that crowd, he's
So what are the people saying as he launched the campaign on Monday? What are those things they're telling him? Okay, should we come back?
We thank God for you. We thank God for you. Go to the local stations, local TV stations. Everybody's just thanking God for him. So that is much more important to us, that with that kind of enthusiasm, he will do more. Now that he has established security, food, now the next thing is to really fully industrialize, because we have, you know, the stimulus for industrialization.
Exactly. You know, Anambra is known for that. These are very industrious
Yes.
people, and that has been proven over time. Now, let's look at roads construction in Anambra State. In Nnewi, for instance, you know, which is, of course, to me, the commercial hub of Anambra State because of the industrial centers established there. And perhaps want to congratulate your people, too, for bringing home industry, bringing it home. It's a plus. Now, what about road projects in Anambra State?
Well, you see, you cannot put two hands in the mouth at the same time. When he came and saw that insecurity was so fundamental, he used a lot of state resources, bought some forms of American-style smart cars, bought gunboats for the Navy, used helicopters to track kidnappers. That will cost me a lot of money. But in the past 1 year, he has really delved into road construction. Like I said, he constructed the longest bridge. That is no mean feat, because anticipating what oil and gas will mean to the economy of the state, we needed to have an access to the area where this oil and gas is located. So you see, this is what I call prioritization. He prioritizes what he does, not just for the sake of constructing roads, where we need it in terms of resources available. First, he provided security. Secondly, he made sure he paid civil servants. And thirdly, now he's entering into infrastructure, which I think is a good priority.
Now, what are these dominant issues in this forthcoming election? I'm glad you said you've seen major political parties take time to actually come woo the people. Now, what are those issues that the people are pushing forward and that the government is ready to listen to?
You see, in the past, it's not commonplace for anybody to go into an election mentioning of what he did. Of all the major candidates coming out, they can't make reference of anything they did. They can't. People pass through a place and leave no impression. He can now rightly stand up before the people and say, I did this here, I did that there, I did this here. And it is verifiable. So the people, and you know my people with due humility, are very smart. If you claim what you have not done, you are in trouble. So like I said, what happened at Talk on Monday, I mean, told the governor, you can go home and sleep. That we're with you.
All right, this is Good Morning Nigeria, and we are looking at the scorecard of Governor Willie Obiano of Anambra State, who is, of course, going to face an election, you know, next month. And here we've been talking to Chief Dan Olanse, who came all the way from Anambra State to be part of this program. We'll take a short break now. We'll return in a moment.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA. You can't beat the rich.
If you just tuned in, the program is Good Morning Nigeria, and we are on the second part of our discussion on the program today. And taking a look at the scorecard for Governor Willie Obiano. Come next month, the Anambrians will be going to the polls to make a re-election of the governor, as well as other participants that are already on the train. Now, we've had stories of so many issues going on in Anambra State as part of Governor Willie's scorecard. We've touched on the issue of health. Now, let's take a look at education, which is key. Anambra indigents are well schooled. Every area, whether it's in the commerce, whether it's in industry, whether it's in other areas of education. Now, how is the governor faring in this direction?
Well, you know, education goes with it a lot of financial input. When he took over, the internally generated revenue the state was seeing every month was about 450 million naira. As I speak with you now, it's almost 1.8 billion naira a month. So he's translating or using most of that finance to really push education to a new front.
How is he doing that?
He's doing it because in the past 4 years, Anambra has been in the first four of states in school certificate, in university education, establishment of new schools, re-equipment of secondary schools, giving borehole water to most of the schools, new libraries, everything that is supposed prerequisite for good environment for knowledge, he has done. Not minding all the resources it put in security and agriculture. As it were, you know, we tend to take education very lightly because it's a very serious thing for every Anambra person. So once you see a governor that is also educationally inclined, who has an interest in that, you know, he did a lot of things there.
How do we be able to translate from the classroom to the industry? Because earlier on, Kieran also mentioned of Inewe. Of course, we had great industrialists, vehicle manufacturing, and other areas of vehicle manufacturing actually there. Now, translating that from the classroom to the industry.
Well, we know we have a couple of polytechnics that are trying to, what you call this training in a student finish school and go into industries for on-the-spot training. There's something we call it industrial training, attachment, and that kind of, that's the purpose of government. A lot of schools, students finish, and they are put into some of these industries here and there to acquire practical experiences of what is happening.
Let me take you back to education.
Yes.
Because some 10, 15 years ago, it was noted that the younger generation of Anambrians, the children, now prefer to, after elementary 6, we take to training of sort, you know, and abandon education. And we want to know whether the trend has changed tremendously this time around. That's number one. And two, after that, you go into housing, because it's also
I must tell you that conclusion is fallacy of generalization. You'll be surprised that if you see 10 Anambra people in business, 8 of them are graduates. We have the largest number of graduates in all Nigerian universities. And I request anybody who doubts that to make contact with universities. Most of our people finish their education, and you see them with a degree certificate, staying in stores, learning how to trade.
It's true.
They have that humility to do that. People wouldn't understand that most of them are graduates. So we're very proud about that. You know, they can humble themselves to the down of having to be, you know, go to motor park and see what is happening there. Go to however small the industry is, they go there. So that knowledge, that is why they make success. That knowledge helps them on international connection to be able to access, you know, networks online. A lot of things are done now. It's not just the old type business. And that is why, recession or no recession, my state didn't know there was a recession.
What about housing development?
Well, you can't put, in his second term, many things will be done in housing development. But I told you, if I told you we have done everything, or he has done everything at the same time, then he'll be a magician. And I don't think nobody is a magician.
But he touched on some areas of housing.
Yes, he has done a lot in housing development, and a lot more are being done as I speak.
Okay, sir. Anambra is noted for being very a vibrant state. And when it comes to the indigenes, their characteristics, you know, is known in the southeast of Nigeria as people who are very vibrant and prepared to do any form of business. Now, looking at the Willie Obiano's governance within the last 3 years or thereabout, would you say that Anambrians have fared well in their different businesses because they are business-oriented people?
You know, one thing he silently did was to kill the concept of godfatherism. When he came in 4 years ago, a young man who was his predecessor, Mr. P2B, told Anambrian that this is the best that Anambra could have. A retired executive director in a bank could be a better manager. That was the selling point for this young man. And he won election on that selling point. And he never failed anybody. Suddenly, the same person who helped him to come to power turned around to say he wants to remove him. That is insulting our sensibilities. That Anambra now is a state, somebody wakes up in the morning, I think that I want to put and I want to remove. In 21st century Nigeria, for such a brilliant man, a chartered accountant, a retired executive director in a bank, somebody wakes up without any antecedent because we helped him to be governor. People helped him himself to be governor.
So why is this an issue of a godfather syndrome?
Well, it is the concept of people not wanting to say go. you have done your 8 years, you should leave somebody else to do his own. So it is for the people of Anambra to prejudge whether he has performed well or not. You may have also had a story of that they used 7 billion to make him governor. And we say it is not true. He has no financial agreement with anybody, not with P2B, not with anybody. Because with the money that was used to make him governor, most bankers contributed money because he was coming from the banking industry. So it is that money. Actually, the summary of his problem with P2B is money. And the governor said no. People contributed money all over the place to make me governor. There's no reason why I should go settle in anybody. That I can't do it. And then the problem
is there anything about power that the governor is doing, you know, to power the state? As an industrially based state, it needs energy. Is there any contribution?
You know, on Anambra River area, we have these modular systems. Government is in partnership with some Anambra citizens, very top Anambra citizens. They are now developing modular systems that can give light. But you know we have problem until that thing is made to run. States can do their own, federal government can do its own. You know, whatever you do in power, you still go through the national grid, which is unfortunate. For instance, now if you go to Nnewi now, generators are sounding 24 hours. But other neighboring towns have light, but they don't have. They say we're not on 132 something line. So that's what the governor is trying to use this modular system to see whether it is possible, you know, to give the industrial centers, you know, 24-hour light, which is very, very appreciated by our people.
From your perception of what's happening in Anambra State now, because you're on ground, you have other political parties with also known personalities in the state who are also vying for this position. Does really Obiano really have a chance, you know, of winning based on its antecedents? Yes.
If I tell you that the election has been written in the minds of the people, you think it's an overstatement. But I would like to see you again after the 18th of November. I would like to come here again and tell you that you will not make less than 70% of the votes that will
whichever way the pendulum swing, we like to see.
Sorry?
I said whichever way the pendulum swings.
No. Whichever way the pendulum swings, but it will swing positively. Because people of Anambra, they will vote for what they have seen, the success story that is Obiano's government. I mean, they can't vote anywhere else. Because tell me who else is running? Who else is running? What are the antecedents of those who are running? That is a serious question for people to ask. You just run up. There are those other serious, big parties are private properties or one or two top elements in the state.
For other areas of interest for Anambra indigenes, education is there, skills acquisition is there, issue of industry now. How do we begin to harness what is being done in skill acquisition, whether for young persons or even for older ones who might have missed out in one way or the other, but now they are being brought together to do that.
And the wife, rather pleasantry, is doing so much work in the area you have just said. Women are so engaged in Anambra, 24 hours. A lot of money is being put into making women self-sufficient, self-accounting, so that they don't become completely dependent on their husbands. That is an area we have never seen before in Anambra State. And the wife of the governor is seriously doing that. And people are very happy about it.
That's a skill acquisition.
Skill acquisition, especially for women.
All right, being done all over the local government?
Most of the local government. Most of the local government.
Some Nigerians are reacting to our conversation this morning. We'll have a clip for that. He said he has done well in security, but most he should not rest on his laurels in order to avoid a relapse of insecurity and sense of insecurity.
And he continues, from what I glean from the press, he appears to be doing a great work in the area of cementing inter-community peace and harmony.
Now, Dele Jackson Solomon says, it is time the people of Anambra tell Nigerians if the governor has been able to galvanize the available potential for the benefit of the state.
From Chibuzo Jonathan, he says, Obiano has done so well and yet to do more, but there's so much power from the center is making him handicapped. We want restructuring of Nigeria.
Okay, he talked about somebody, Agregos, he talked about the road in Onitsha. Roads in Onitsha, for example, are looking better. The gutters must be properly covered so as to avoid accidents. And Onitsha is a very vital area in Onitsha.
From Omogbalaho, Babs, is the street. Anambra people have tasted various leadership at different levels. They are better positioned to know who is better for them amongst all contestants.
All right, one for Samson. He said, though I haven't been in Anambra this year, but for the past 2 years, there is no more miscreants in those motor parks.
From Cecilia Okoroma is a street. Governor Willie Obiano is a creative governor. Tackling security alone is equal to none.
All right, sir. Tell Nigerians now, because we are rounding up for this
you
conversation.
can see the people have also spoken.
Oh, yes.
And that's a very unbiased estimate of what the governor is doing, and by the grace of God, will continue to do when he's re-elected on the 18th of next month. So what I'm telling Anambrarians, who are really the people we need to appeal to, is that this governor has given hope and security to our people. We need to give him an opportunity to complete what he's doing, the good work he's doing. And you see, the thing about doing a good work, when somebody else comes in, he cannot but improve on what he has made. Because if you leave a state in a state of dilapidation, it is easier for people to come in and steal money. You can't come into Anambra now as a new governor to steal money. Because when you see the standards he has set, and people are aware of these standards he has set, you have to meet up with it. So that is the danger for incoming administrations after his second term. So it is a big advantage for us that once he has set a very high standard that people must aim, not just to meet, but also to make an impression, attempt to beat it.
I know for football lovers, soccer lovers, and other areas of youth development is also looking into that area. How is it fair?
Well, you know, he's been to, if you go to Ney, you see where Ifeanyi is building a massive stadium, one of the best stadiums. The governor has visited there more than 5 times. The local ABS team has also played with Ifeanyi team there. So it's a lot of encouragement to football.
I know there is one area that will not fail to for people asking. Now, Anambra is another state prone to erosion of different ecological challenges. Now, I know there have been several attempts in the past. How is the governor addressing?
Well, you know, it's a very expensive exercise. The erosion problem is essentially a federal responsibility. Exactly. But whether it is being effectively tackled, because the governor is also awarding small contracts that, to try and put some control, in areas, especially in Lanka that you mentioned, Oko side, Dr. Alex Ekweme's place.
And part of Ekulobia.
Yes, Ekulobia. So places you see them, you see houses just falling in.
And, but are there any strategy or any
actually, it is the federal government people should be directing that. We have federal representatives, we have senators, we have members of the House of the House of Reps.
Are you synergizing with them?
Well, the governor will try to do his best, but there's a limit. It's not governors are not magicians.
Because Nigerians are directly concerned.
They are concerned, but what do you do? Is in a situation like I said, when he came in first, armed robbery was the case. Nobody remembered the erosion. People were running away from their villages because of shooting. The day my father died in 2009, P2B was governor, and he came in there with more than 30 mobile police. Because people were coming and people were firing everywhere. That was the hell.
But today that's not the
situation. Today is not the case.
Now,
that's kudos to this governor.
All right,
it's no more the case.
Governor Willie
people
was
attend
received
weddings
by the president yesterday, and it was in the news, and I'm sure it was cheering news he brought back for Anambra State.
I mean, the president congratulated him for doing a good work, especially on security and other areas of infrastructural development. At least I had that one in the news.
Okay,
so
sir.
Everybody is happy with him.
Because we are winding down gradually, on this particular segment of the program. Talk to Nigerians and Anambrarians particularly, because they're going to face election next month. And of course, he said you have galvanized. We saw a huge crowd, mammoth crowd in his declaration. As a matter of fact, it's a huge one. Actually, how is he going to sustain that during the election day? Nobody knows. But right now, do the final campaign
that
on this
the crowd
platform.
you saw at Pueme Square, or what the television was able to, capture, is so little compared with what was on the ground. People parked their vehicles 5 kilometers away, and we are walking down. For somebody to walk 2 or 3 kilometers to go and listen to somebody speak, it's not happenstance. Somebody who is aggrieved will not do that. It is somebody who has hope, who is looking forward for greater things to happen, that will come doing that. So most people in Anambra State have hope, and hope is not a common thing in this country today. So we have hope that this governor has done so well that people have resolved to give him an opportunity to do even better. And by the grace of God, he's a very good Christian. He will do it.
I can see you're so sure. You're just very sure.
I'm not. If you have watched my programs, and either in AITU or channels in the past, I'm a terrible critic. But if I see something that is good, I'm not a member of ABGA. I'm not a member of ABGA. I resigned from PDP 2 weeks ago because of what P2B did in the primaries of PDP. That's how I resigned. So I have no business coming here, if not to tell my state people that this governor has done very well.
Now talk to your state people, whether you are a PDP, whether you are ABGA, but they should
vote for Willie Obiano because he has done very well. And what he has done is on the ground for people to verify.
And because he's a man of peace and security, yes. I'm sure he's been talking. What is that message he's enjoying?
His message is love and peace. You know, nothing can work without love. And it's if you get close to him, he's a naturally loving person. And with his wife, they are so complementary. Like, it's difficult to explain to you if you don't have an opportunity. I will probably have a spare time. I will transport you to Anambra State. Come and meet the governor. He's a wonderful person you will meet. I'm telling you, you will not know that this is the person doing this wonderful work in my state.
All right.
So I urge my state people to give him full support because he will do even more.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. Thank you. Time is knocking for us to leave, and they have really spoken well on behalf of your governor. The man is so cherished. We wish him all the best. Come November, when the election will take place, and I'm sure you're going to vote for him from the way you are talking. We have been sharing a scorecard of the governor of Anambra State, Willie Obiano, with no other person than a champion of politics in the southeast of Nigeria,
High Chief
Dan from your own. Lassie, former Anambra State Chairman of NRC and PDP. Thank you once more for coming on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
God bless.
All right, this is Good Morning Nigeria. Well, Nigeria Volleyball Federation, NBVS, has released the list of 14 female players that will represent Nigeria at the African Women Nations Cup in Cameroon. Details of this and more from our sports desk.
The Technical Department of Nigeria Volleyball Federation, NVBF, has released the list of female players that will represent Nigeria at the African Women Nations Cup in Cameroon as from 7th and 15th October 2017. The theme list for Nigeria's senior women volleyball team include Ladi Jamelt, Verere Onyerom, Theresa Okonma, Aisha Umar, Chinenye Nwosu, Esther Dusu, Albertina Francis, Mercy Promise, Agera Priscilla, Francisca Ikede, Comfort Amau, Kelechi Iwobi, Mary John, and Mary Ali. Head coach is Osman Abdallah. Verera Owarom, Promise Mercy are the two foreign-based players invited by coach Osman Abdallah to fortify the team, expected to leave the shores of Nigeria on the 5th of October 2017 for Cameroon. The tournament will determine the qualifier for the 2018 Women World Cup. Nigerian team will be featuring alongside other countries such as the host Cameroon, Algeria, Ghana, and Cape Verde. Others are Egypt, Botswana, Tunisia, Chad, Congo DR, Kenya, Zambia, and Senegal. In tennis, world number 1 Rafael Nadal saved 2 match points as he came from a set down to beat France's Lucas Pauli in the first round of the China Open. Nadal, making his first appearance since last month's US Open win, was 4-6 down in the second set tie-break before winning 4 consecutive points. The Spaniard 31 then converted his only break point of the match in the final set to win 4-6, 7-6, 7-5. Nadal won his 16th Grand Slam title in New York 3 weeks ago.
From sports now to the foreign scene, the French Parliament approves new anti-terrorism law. Also, death toll rises in Cameroon's Anglophone region unrest. Let's join Garba Mohammed Mutnatala on the foreign scene.
Good morning and thank you for joining us. Here are some of the stories lined up.
The bill, approved by 415 votes to 127 and 19 abstentions, grants police exceptional powers. In July, French President Emmanuel Macron pledged to lift the order and transfer certain exception emergency policing powers into Parliament law. This, according to human rights advocates, will not only harm the rights to liberty, security, freedom of assembly and freedom of religion across the country, but will also risk creating a permanent emergency situation. Meanwhile, there are fears over repatriation of Rohingya refugees from Bangladesh to Myanmar. However, a deal has been agreed for 500,000 Rohingya civilians who reportedly fled military atrocities in Rakhine State. The death toll from the ongoing unrest in Cameroon's English-speaking region has risen to 17 as the government tries to quell a separatist movement. Internet was blocked in the region for the third day, the second time in less than a year. Earlier this year, the internet was blocked for 3 months following similar unrest. Electricity was also cut in the area. Cameroon's English-speaking minority say they are being marginalized by the French-speaking majority. Tension continues to grow over the past year, with protests taking place now and then.
Thank you for joining us. More stories will come your way as they unfold.
But since gaining her independence in 1960, music influences in Nigeria, music influences in Nigeria have been bound and through the years, putting the country on the global map. Today on Arts and Entertainment, Ngozi Chude takes a look at those sounds and individuals that resonated in the 1960s musically.
With multitudes of ethnic groups in Nigeria, the country's vast historical landmark in music is unprecedented. From music styles to unique techniques and instruments, musicians have continually upheld the culture. Since independence, music served as a ritual infusing different elements of juju, fuji and highlife that set some artists apart, becoming the Battle of the Titans. In the 60s, Ike Dario arguably led the pack of musicians who caught the eye of the international community. His innovation and musical influences attracted an award of the Order of the British Empire in 1963. Taking center stage at that time was highlife. So much so that even in the face of a dwindling popularity, some artists remained relentless, keeping the genre alive. Some of these include Victor Olaya, Stephen Osita Osadebe, Oliver Diko, Celestine Uhu, Orenta Brothers, Sonny Okosu, Orlando Dr. Ganja, among others. Distinct in their styles and sounds, this set of performers drew huge devoted crowds across the country and beyond.
So the music has the same line. You must be able to understand good music, the roots of the music.
Still in the 60s, Akbala grew, attracting a large crowd of followers in the western region. One that encapsulates the true essence is Haruna Ishola, who was one of Nigeria's most consistent hitmakers at that time. The sound Akbala alternates between slow and emotional, swift and energetic, with lyrics, a mixture of praise and passages from the Quran as well as traditional proverbs. Fuji was famed with the appearance of bands and some forerunners like Sikiru Ayinde Barrister. For many, these sounds have replicated through times and seasons, bearing fruits and modifications. It is 5 decades and 7 years. Nigerian music continues to resonate globally, giving credence to the ever-changing trends.
Yeah, memory lane with rhythms from the past still resonating for us and moving to the future. Now let's join the Nigerian Meteorological Agency for what the weather prospects will be like for your city.
You're welcome to the weather segment from the Nigerian Meteorological Agency. The northern cities are expected to be relatively stable. However, vigorous thundery activities with moderate precipitation and strong winds are not unlikely over the central states down to the southern cities. And for Wednesday weather, partly cloudy to sunny conditions are expected over the extreme north. Then the central cities to the inland cities of the southeast are expected to be under cloudy to partly cloudy conditions. The southeast coast, southwestern axis and Ilorin could witness morning thunderstorms and rains. Progressing into the day, Yelwa axis would experience thundery activities and thunderstorms around Bida, Mina, Abuja, Kaduna, Jos, the southern parts of the country and southern parts of Maiduguri. I am Imara Joyce Inchon. Here is the temperature forecast across selected cities. Thanks for watching.
And that's, yes, and that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. Do keep a date with us again tomorrow for another edition of the program. My name is Kirin Umayo. Have a great day.
And my name is Blessing Abu. I wish you a fantastic day. Just keep up the good work and let's build Nigeria. Thank you for watching.